Red Feather presents From the Archives. Chapter 8, The Not Deer.
Statement of false symmetry regarding changes in her roommate's behaviour.
I suppose you could call it that.
Yeah, I just have to say something that sounds academic for the tape. Statement taken direct from subject today, May 17th, 2022. Statement begins.
Right, so my roommate Jem and I are both outdoorsy sorts. We used to go hiking and camping pretty often. She liked the scenery, I liked the exercise. We've lived together for a while. She actually helped me out of a jam when she first moved in, because my old roommate had bounced on me, and I was really just desperate to find somebody to cover her rent. But as it turned out, we got along really well. She was always really into nature. We share an apartment, so there's not really any garden space, but she got a bunch of little flower pots and succulents to put out on the balcony. Took religious care of them. I always thought it was really nice. Livened up the place, you know? When you live in the middle of London, it's nice to have something like that. Jem was... I think before anything else, I would just describe her as nice. Jem was nice. A sweetheart, you know? Real soft about animals. She'd foster kittens in our apartment sometimes. She always seemed to me like she didn't belong in the middle of the city, really. Like she should be living somewhere sunnier, with a big native garden and a dozen rescue pets. This was summer, just before the start of fall. She had a hiking trip she'd been looking forward to for a long time. I'd been planning on going with her at first, but work stuff got in the way and I couldn't, so she wound up going alone. I don't know exactly what happened while she was gone. She texted me for a while as she was on the bus heading out, and then eventually she lost coverage and went radio silent. But that was normal, and, you know, she's an adult, and a more competent outdoorsman than me in a lot of ways. I wasn't worried, at least not then. Her trip was supposed to last 4 days, Friday to Monday. She was supposed to be back Monday night. And, well, she wasn't. I tried calling her when she wasn't back on time, but it went to voicemail. Called her brother next, because he's usually the one most in touch with her, but he hadn't heard from her either. I told myself I'd give it 24 hours, and then I'd start making calls. Maybe I should have done that right away, but I don't think I'd wanted to believe things could have gone so wrong the one time I wasn't with her. I just wanted it to be all right. I was just really hoping my phone would ring, and it would turn out that a bus home had just broken down and she'd been stranded out of signal range for a few hours or something. Anything. 24 hours later, I called up the ranger station for the area where she should have been, and that's when I heard about the fire. So far as I know, they still don't know how it started. Last I heard, they figured it had just been some idiot leaving their campfire unattended. It doesn't really matter anyway. It was dry and hot. There were whole acres of forest burning within the day. I felt sick. I pulled up the map of the trail she'd been meaning to hike, made the ranger tell me right where all the edges of the fire were. There was no way around it. There was no way she hadn't been caught in the blaze, I thought. I mean, at that point I was trying to script out in my head how I was going to tell her brother that his sister was dead. And then there was a knock on the front door. Gonna be honest, I was not in the mood to deal with solicitors right then. I was ready to give whoever was out there a good smack when I opened the door, and then it was her. Or it looked like her. I'm still not sure. Her hair was a mess. Her eyes were dark. They've always been a pretty normal green, and I guess it could have been the lighting, but I would swear they were so dark they were almost black that night. And she had flowers in her hair.
Flowers?
They were blue. Bright blue. It's the thing I remember most, because it seems so incongruous. How could anyone possibly escape a forest fire and come away with flowers in her hair? Before anything else, I was happy to see her, obviously. I pulled her into a hug right away, but it put me on edge. I think I could tell right away something was wrong. She didn't seem upset. That was the other thing that bothered me. She'd been missing. I'd been sitting there shredding myself with guilt and anxiety over what might have happened to her for hours. And there she was, with a smile on her face, happy as ever, flowers in her hair. It felt wrong. It felt like I was talking to a ghost or something, I don't know. I asked her what had happened, obviously. She told me she couldn't remember. I couldn't tell if she was telling the truth or not. She didn't seem like she was lying. Not really. She didn't seem nervous or anything. But there was something about the way she spoke. Her eyes went sort of far away. It worried me. And then I got angry at myself for being worried, because she was there and she was fine and alive, and that should be enough, right? That should have been enough. She was obviously tired, even though she insisted she wasn't, so I told her to get some sleep, and then I went and sat down and had a bit of a cry, because even though things felt so off, I really was just so relieved she was alive, and I hoped that would be it. I think I knew on some level that it wouldn't be, though. It couldn't be. Everything seemed okay at first. Things were still a little strange. Sometimes it would be like she didn't know what I was talking about when I mentioned perfectly normal things, or... No, it was more like I'd mentioned something, like needing to take my car in for maintenance, and it'd be like she knew what that was, but didn't get why I thought it was important. It wasn't a big thing, but it was definitely odd. The first big thing was the plants. I went out onto the balcony maybe a week after she got back, just to do some reading, and I noticed right away that all the little plants she kept out there weren't right. They all looked bigger, for one thing, but more than that, they looked sort of twisted. Like their shapes and colours had gone all wrong, all blue and yellow and black and red. Like bruises. They didn't look unhealthy, they looked bigger than they ever had, but they just frightened me, if I'm being honest.